everyone. In this video, I'm gonna give you some of the facts regarding New York reopening and a commentary after me in front of the camera talking to you all about why I think uh, we are taking the right approach to reopening slowly and not fast like the other states are going into. And to be very clear, I'm not defending any politician here. I'm just being cautious because if we do go into a second wave of the virus, and hopefully we won't, I'm praying we won't. Maybe it'll just be less severe. We'll still see cases, but it won't be as what the hype is right now. Because you know how people love to, have anticipation for things that may not happen. We're going to talk about some of the facts about New York State reopening, and I know you should be seeing this video on the 26th, and by now, the Hudson Valley, and it's not Mid-Hudson, all right? Stop calling it that. It's Hudson Valley, right? Don't offend the locals like my cousin who lives in Rockland. So, trust me. Hudson Valley is supposed to get the green light today. It looks like Long Island is supposed to get the green light tomorrow on the 27th. So, my Long Island friends are eagerly figuring out how they're going to hang out again. But, be responsible about it, which, I don't even want to see people right now. Being honest. And, I'll discuss the reservation thing as well, because I need to call out Pat Fraud in this video regarding that. See, that's who I need to call out in this video, not the governor, because the governor has done some good and the governor has done bad. I'll get to that later on. So, this is what Governor Cuomos says regarding phase one. So, the industries should be refreshed. I know I'm recording this Monday night, but this should be refreshed to say Mid-Hudson, which, again, should really be Hudson Valley, but I guess not. Okay, so, Phase 1 in Hudson Valley today will go as follows. This includes, let me get the counties right, Westchester, Rockland, Dutchess, Sullivan, Ulster, and Orange. So if you're in those counties today, you will have gone into phase 1. So that's some good news. Long Island, Nassau, and Suffolk County should be entering phase 1 on Wednesday, May 27th. At the moment, we're still waiting to hear from Governor Cuomo, and I'll have the daily briefing later today, hopefully. And if Bill de Blasio makes an announcement regarding the reopening, I will try to rip the New York City feed, if I can even find a tape, and we'll work our way from there, because I'm wondering when the city will even enter phase 1. So, this is what we know right now. For phase 1, we have construction, agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting. That really doesn't apply to New York City unless you go to Bayside Marina. That would be the only place I think you could do fishing in New York City. Maybe Mill Basin, but I doubt it. But definitely the Bayside Marina. If you go along the Cross Island Parkway, you know the boat club, which is our pride and culture here in Queens. Okay, retail, limited to curbside or in-store pickup or drop-off. So, I would assume that the video game trading post should be taking people in on Wednesday in Levittown. Manufacturing and wholesale trade. Now, I don't know what wholesale trade even is. Okay, this is where I kind of have a problem with the governor. I don't know why there are 4 phases, because I think there is a problem with this. Because The restaurants, I feel, got double crossed. I really do feel bad for the restaurants. And this is where I side with Pine Power Ally, is that why didn't Governor Cuomo, and this is one of the criticisms I have to make, why didn't he put restaurants in phase two? For diners, it's a whole different story. Like, if you go to a diner, you can social distance without. All you need to do is just tell people, sorry, you can't do booths. Unless you're doing the Okanoki Diner. See, that place in Suffolk, they have big booths. That's at least 6 feet apart. Because I've been there, and trust me, you can easily keep 6 feet apart in Islip. But other diners, booths are too small. Even Apollo's okay in the size. They actually have comfy booths because they renovated a couple years back. But yeah, I do feel bad for the restaurant owners because if I had to go somewhere when the city reopened, probably be North Shore. They could probably convert a lot of tables. They could in Bayside. And thank goodness they reopened to do takeout. But you know, when is enough going to be enough where the governor realized he made a big hiccup and phase three is phase three? I mean, you could delay phase three for arts, entertainment, and recreation. Okay, fine. You know, if you want to keep bowling alleys and movie theaters closed for who knows how long, then by all means, that's another point for another time. But you know, it's a shame that in phase two we don't even get dine-in for restaurants in New York State, which a lot of restaurants rely economically on dine-in, and you're basically telling the restaurant, sorry, you gotta wait till phase three. So I'm very mad at the Governor Cuomo about that, and I agree with Pine Power Ally. That was a big mistake, huge mistake. But look at it this way: at least we're not going crazy like the other states where they reopen large crowd places like nightclubs and what else? Bowling alleys and movie theaters. See, that's where you draw large crowds. See, if you keep a restaurant open, what, maybe 50% capacity, then that's fine. You know, you could tell people, look, you know, we're at full capacity, we're at 50%, we can't take you in. You know? But still, you know, that's the problem I have with. And what's wholesale trade? Really? So furniture stores will reopen in phase one? Really? Furniture and home furnishing merchant wholesalers. Oh, okay. I think I know what this is. Maybe if you go into like a wholesale furniture store, then that's different. Okay. Okay. I see where this is going. Right. Then they have a print business safety plan template. Okay. I see where this is going. Then you have retail trade. What's that? Retail trade. Oh, okay. Right. Phase one will include for curbside pickup. Right. So that means if you want to go to Best Buy, they could do curbside pickup. Hmm. Right. Okay. All right. I'll just quickly look at the regional dashboard. Once again, Hudson Valley is supposed to be open today. Long Island tomorrow. New York City, once again, that's sometime between June 1st and June 15th. And I'm still upset that we had alternate side parking rules resume. I'm glad we finally got street cleaning back in the city, but, you know, we're having a lot of problems with raccoons and rats lately since the weather got warmer. And I'm very worried that if we have 2 extra weeks of no street cleaning, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a big problem. And also, I want to mention something that a lot of people are really irresponsible. I've noticed that people are not properly putting trash in trash cans with the lids. Apparently, you're supposed to get summoned for that, but apparently not. So that's the Blasio City at work. We're responsible people. We put the lid in our trash cans, which is just disgraceful. And then we have this executive order. 202.33. Continuing temporary suspension and modification of laws relating to the disaster emergency. Alright, so pretty much it says June 21st, so it could be 25 people for exemptions. Right. 10 or fewer individuals to gather. So you can gather with 10 people now. Yeah, I said, I'm going to get into why I don't really want to see people in a second. Alright? I'm going to get into it. Because I got a lot to say. I can't hold it in. Okay. Right. Long Island Railroad will be adding more cars. Thank goodness. Because again, you got to put the workforce back. I'm assuming they're still going to keep the essential plan, but... Oh, this is not good. Positive COVID tests seem to be surging in 2 upstate regions. That includes Finger Lakes and Central New York. Yeah, see, only New York City. See, only New York City. Of course the clown mayor would want to keep us in a lockdown. I bet he's coordinating it with Cuomo right now. Well, de Blasio says, oh, June. Trust me, I'll get to that in a second. So now I'm going to flip the camera over, and now we're just going to talk. Alright, so it's just me talking to you right now. One-on-one. We're going to talk now. So, we're reopening smartly. But again, the restaurants, why are they not allowed to open in phase 2? To me, I'm just, every other state's letting that happen. There are restaurant owners across this country who are taking the CDC guidelines very seriously. They're limiting restaurant capacity. I'm not saying every restaurant's opening for dine-in, but there are restaurants that are being responsible. And, I said, restaurants rely on people who come in and they want to dine inside. Alright, you're supposed to get... The whole point of going to a restaurant is supposed to be dining in. I haven't done that since February 29th. Okay? The last time I got my own takeout food, and I'm going to be honest, the last time I did that, I think it was March 2nd. Yeah. So I had to go to Manhattan and go to a pawn shop. Which that's another thing. My pawn shop's not even going to reopen until phase... Actually, yeah, my pawn shop is going to reopen in phase 2. Right, the one I went to in Manhattan. I wonder how they're going to limit it, because it's a big pawn shop, but still. And, what else? Right. But I said, the last time I dined in a restaurant was February 29th with my mom and dad. That was it, because I remembered I didn't go by myself to a fast food place, like Wendy's, like I normally do during the week. And... once again, to every restaurant owner, all I'm just gonna say right now is please get ready in New York State for Phase 3. You know, you have a lot of time to prepare to welcome back your patrons. All right, because you know, I felt bad that the Apollo Diner had to shut down for 2 months. They're finally taking the takeout orders again. They're doing curbside pickup because they have a big parking lot in East Meadow. You know, I'm glad that North Shore Diner and Bayside they're letting the customers do the curbside pickup. I even called the guy letting them know that. You know, I had to explain to them what curbside was. But they said that we'll do it, but you know, when it's just upsetting that our governor really struck out on that one. And then, you know, you have people trying to go back to work. You know, I'll get to that later on. You know, look at me. I need a haircut. I mean, thank goodness, you know, there's one person who I deserve to give positivity to, and that's the secretary to the governor, Melissa DeRosa. You know, she said it on Twitter, you know, I can get a haircut in Phase 2 because that's personal services. Because if I'm looking at it right now, from reopening, professional service is, you know, getting a haircut. I haven't gotten a haircut in months. You know? You know, I may have to wait until the end of June, maybe. I really hope not, but that's the way things look. You know? I mean, I made the ultimate like I'm 24, all right? This is the biggest sacrifice I've had to make in my entire life. Okay? All right? I understood when I was 5 years old why I couldn't go back to school after 9/11. All right? I understood why school was closed for a week during Sandy. Alright, those are like the only two big... Oh, and I've been through an earthquake. Yeah, I was in New Jersey, the big one, 2011. So, this is like the ultimate sacrifice I made to stay home for 2.5 months. You know? There have been things that I don't even want to talk about I've done during the quarantine. Alright, I don't even want to get into that. Okay? But this is the ultimate sacrifice that I made. Being here. Not trying to infect other people. I'll get to that in just a second. This is the ultimate sacrifice I've made. You know, I understand that I could go out there right now, even with the face mask on. You know, I just don't want to interact with people. I'm sorry to say that. You know, do you think I want to... Like, if I had to go to the supermarket, fine. You know, if my dad couldn't go to the supermarket, I had to go shopping if my dad got sick. I probably just would have mind my own business, wear the damn face mask, and, you know, fine. You know, I'd take the Q17 and I would just walk to the stop and shop in College Point by myself. It's only, what, a 15-minute walk? And plus, I've heard since the pandemic started, downtown Flushing has been quiet. Like, there's nobody even walking on Main Street, which would have been my benefit for these 2 months. It would have been. So I probably only would have taken 2 buses if I was carrying groceries. Or I probably just would have, you know, been like, hey, you know, I will take him on the bus, whatever. I probably would have brought a food bag with me just to keep everything cool. Because we have food bags for our long distance travels. We keep them on purpose. But, you know, I was doing it especially because I was really afraid of, you know, senior citizens, and we'll get to that too, because I really gotta complain to the governor about that. My dad and I were, talking about it because, you know, he had to literally, we had like an emergency breakfast thing to talk about my nursing home, which I'll get to that in just a second. Alright, so staying at home was the ultimate sacrifice. Because, getting other people sick, not what I want to do. I don't want to get sick either. Alright? Try having a cold on your 24th birthday. And being lucky enough to still see your friends, and then the next day you wake up and you realize your symptoms get worse. Yep. Try being in my shoes. Alright? And then, to make things worse, almost dealing with this cold before my second favorite holiday of the year, which is Thanksgiving. You try telling me that. But we'll get to the nursing home situation right now, which I gotta complain to the governor, and this is why I was talking about senior citizens, because I would have never thought that March 11th, 2020 was going to be the last time I left this house. If you had told me maybe in February, hey, this might get out of hand. You may have to stay in your home for months on end. And, oh, by the way, the last time you leave your house is you're actually going to work. And then you stay in your house all these months. Yep. I mean, I'm thankful that I have jobs to go back to. I'm thankful because I got to thankfully say goodbye to my supervisors at Northwell the day before the last day I worked at my nursing home. I was thankful for that my dad was nice enough to drop me off in Long Island to say goodbye to everybody. Thankful for that. Back on March 10th. So, I'll be honest, when we had bingo on March 11th, we weren't thinking of the term socially distant. We were trying to keep everybody apart, but I would have never thought on March 11th all the residents trying to play bingo were going to be together, and then we heard about other elderly people on the outside passing because they were in large crowds right before the stay-at-homes were issued. And all the COVID deaths, and I'm going to be completely honest, I think the people who passed away from this, I do feel a lot of sympathy for everybody, and I want to give my condolences to all the people that were lost at my nursing home. My mom's friend's sister passed in March, and a friend of mine in Long Island, she lost her uncle a couple weeks ago. And another friend of mine, he lost his grandfather a couple weeks ago. So I would have never had even imagined to think this would get out of hand. And then you have Cuomo making a stupid decision, and this is where I bring my dad into the equation. My dad had to, this is when my mom was still doing the online learning. She said to me one night, you need to wake up at 9:30 because me and you are having breakfast at 10 o'clock and we're going to talk about something serious regarding nursing homes. I'm like, okay. I don't remember when. I think this was sometime in April. My dad tells me, you know what Cuomo did? I told him what. And he says to me, he let nursing home residents be readmitted into facilities, including yours. And I'm like, Dad, how is this true? And he showed me a video on his phone. I don't know what this video was, but he showed me a video from YouTube. It was like a brief news report showing that the governor was readmitting people into nursing homes. And I'm like, this cannot be happening. And then I find out, back on May 15th, that 25 people had passed at the nursing home I work at. And I'm going to be honest with everybody, like, I know I've gotten a lot of anxiety over, my mom's friend losing her sister, 2 of my friends losing relatives. And what's very alarming to me, and this is making my anxiety worse, is that I'm not going to find out who passed until I privately talk with the CNAs who I know in my building. Because it's confidentiality between me and them under the HIPAA rules and regulations. And for all the families grieving, you have your privacy regarded. No information should be leaked out. That's, if the New York Times put those names in there the other day with all the 100,000 people, then you should sue the New York Times. If you really want to deal with the court system after this nightmare is over. But that's what's giving me a lot of anxiety. You get that phone call in November of 2015 saying you get a second job. You get that phone call. You work in the same place you've worked since December 2015. And, it makes me upset. I mean, would I love to see resident transport come back in my nursing home and we can get activity started again? Like bingo and like church? Honestly, I would say yes. If it was done safely. If we could limit it. But that's not going to be until phase 4. I'm being realistic when I think I'm going to go back to my nursing home. Because phase 4 is arts and entertainment. That's considered arts and entertainment. That's a long whiles away. At least in my hospital job at LIJ, I could go back maybe. And I'm in a cubicle. And nobody bothers me. I might be going back. I just don't know. I can't just make assumptions on LIJ like my nursing home, because nursing home, bingo was considered arts and entertainment. Church, that's a whole different story. I'm not going to get involved with church and state right now. Alright? Our president's really trying to make it a big issue right now, which, I'll get to the blowhard in just a second. Because this is going to go on for a long time. All right. So the governor made a hiccup. That's why the nursing home deaths went up in the state. Our governor made a big mistake. Huge mistake. You know? And trust me, I after what he did, absolutely, I am not voting for him in 2022. All right? I really hope the nursing home unions turn against him. That's one thing I'll get into is unions. See, they gotta go against Cuomo in 2022. After what he did, how could you support a man like that who says, oh, you can readmit nursing home residents back to the facility after they were hospitalized with COVID symptoms? That just proves the point how Cuomo can be crazy sometimes during this pandemic. He says New York's smart. Well, why didn't you let nursing home residents go into the nursing home? Just like how, why aren't you reopening dine-in restaurants in phase 2? You're going to put a lot of restaurants out of business, Mr. Cuomo. And another thing. I do agree that you can't sue nursing home facilities. Alright? Nursing homes should not be at fault. Alright? It's not their fault that they were readmitted. Alright? They were told by the governor, you can readmit them. No strings attached. So if anybody deserves to get sued, it's Andrew Mark Cuomo. That's no question. He needs to get sued. Alright? If I had a nursing home resident, like if I knew somebody personally in a nursing home, they were like my family member, believe me, I would have called my lawyer and I would have said, is it possible we could take this to the New York Supreme Court in Albany? Alright? Because trust me, I go to Albany and sue. I would. So, I don't know if money is going to solve this problem. Because, looking at it from my point of view, you lose someone, and they pass because the governor says you can readmit them. For shame. I mean, would I like to go back to work? Depends if it's safe or not. It's like the World Trade Center. Was it safe to be in Lower Manhattan after the Twin Towers came down? It's like saying the same thing. Is it safe to go in a nursing home knowing that you could have the virus and then give it to another resident? It's the same thing. It's like going to Lower Manhattan and breathing the toxins after the Twin Towers came down. Do you think I would have wanted to be anywhere near Bowling Green after what happened on 9/11? No! I would have not. Same thing. Oh, you may have the infection rate's low. You can go into the facility now and visit. Honestly, we can't go in until there's a vaccine. Or until Fauci gets that drug he keeps talking about. I'm trying to look it up right now. Remdesivir. Right now the FDA's not even testing it. Because I think the company in Georgia is still in clinical trials before the FDA can even submit their approval for testing. And I gotta say, kudos to the World Health Organization. Alright? Hydrochloroquine is not proven to treat this virus. That's another thing. I hate to say this. If a hospital gave you hydroxychloroquine and you felt symptoms, or you knew somebody who took it, I would say maybe look into getting a lawyer. I don't know. I don't know what a lawyer will say. It's not like the nursing homes where you could sue the state of New York. Which, honestly, the state of New York should get sued. Just saying. And then, to make things worse, elective surgeries. When are they going to happen again in New York City? Long Island Jewish doesn't have clearance. Because it's a New York City building. Right? They have a New York City address. And I'm not even going to say what the address is. Because if I say the address, then I get busted and then I violate HIPAA rules. So we're not going to get into that right now. So, trust me, I did what I had to do all these months. And when I do go outside again, I don't want to see people. Unless it was in a controlled situation. Like, I have close friends, for example. Like if I were to maybe hang out with at least be 10 people, including me. We could be responsible about it. But that's a whole different story I don't even want to get into right now. By the way, this room gets easily hot, so I'm just going to quickly open the window. Oh, the window is open. What about the other one? So we're not editing this part out. Yeah, see, the other window wasn't open. Come back to the chair. So, all this time I never thought of it as prison. Being here. Because, this virus can catch you. Even if you're asymptomatic, we know what happens. And, I just feel that if we aren't responsible, we're going to make a big mistake. I don't want to see a repeat of what happened in 1918, where Philadelphia said, okay, we can go on with our lives. They were irresponsible and saw the infection rate go up. Where St. Louis said, you know what? Let's shut everything down. And in 1918, it paid off. And another thing I want to quickly mention. The sports cars. They've gotten a whole lot worse since this pandemic started, I think. So you might hear that randomly. But what's made me upset, now that there's no elective surgeries, I was supposed to get a dental cleaning in March. Kept getting postponed. You know how upset it is? My teeth feel a little bit odd. Even my mom's teeth. She had a tooth replacement before the virus became the pandemic the way it was now. She had to go to an emergency person in Bayside a couple weeks ago. And I'm wondering when I can go back to my dentist. You know? Hey, look how long my hair is. I need a haircut. I mentioned this earlier. Thankfully, I still shave. But if I were to go out there, I'm afraid of getting sick. Do I want to chance it? And then all of a sudden, I have to, the nose thing, fine. If it's uncomfortable, it's uncomfortable. Whatever. And then I have to donate the antibodies. You know how miserable that would be. Figuring out, your antibodies are not going to help you treat the virus. Treat future patients who have the virus. There better be an effective vaccine against this. Sooner or later. Because, society has to get back to normal sooner or later. I'm glad that there are people in my area who go out. I see people who don't even wear face masks. There are irresponsible people in my area. Thankfully, I get a view of the Empire State Building. I can look to see what color it is tonight. There are unfortunate people who do have to go out. And in the case of Pine Power LY, I feel really bad for him. He has to deal with construction. All he sees is a brick wall. And another criticism I have to make is towards the MTA. They have these signs out that says, "Oh, if you're an essential worker, blah, blah, blah. Why are you even writing this? Blah, blah, blah." Do you know the Long Island Railroad has empty seats? Yeah, they have more empty seats in the subways. So don't make people like Pine Power LI who need to leave their house to escape reality feel bad. Alright? That's a stereotype to people who have mental illness. Telling them, "Oh, you can't leave. You feel trapped. Blah, blah, blah." I thankfully still have a mom and dad. Alright? My dad's supposed to be 65 this year. Starting this year, I'm going to have to really be worried about his health. Alright? And, my parents recently had a fight about Maryland. I worry about my dad getting a heart attack or a stroke if he's yelling at my mom. You know that? I get worried about that. Once you're 65, you're vulnerable. I'm praying I still have 25 years left with my dad. At least 25. Not too much to ask for. That means hopefully he makes it to 90. And then my mom is supposed to be 60 next year. I'm supposed to be 25 in November. And I recently found out that yes, this is true. Once you get to the age of 23, you can get a heart attack. So I don't even want to yell anymore, because that might give me agita. So, thankfully, my dad's responsible when he goes to the supermarket. You know? Thankfully, I gotta give a lot of the supermarkets credit, and even my dad has told me this. They're keeping the bathrooms open so that way people can wash their hands. And my dad told me, oh, before the virus, they never used to really fill up the hands things. He actually knows a couple of the managers in the supermarkets. I'll mention this. My dad was even wearing the face mask before they required people to wear the face mask. And one of the managers told them, we're making sure that the soap gets reloaded. This was in April. Because my dad was saying, I go to different places to get food. And managers were understanding of that. And they said, we have to treat this seriously. You could touch something that's germy. It's on a surface. And then we're at fault for that. So, thankfully, I still have a dad who goes to the supermarket. It's ridiculous. After midnight and there's a dog barking. Jesus. Alright, so I'll try to talk over the dog barking. So, another thing I want to get into are these crowds that are just being very irresponsible. They're being completely irresponsible. They think that, oh, they're in their la la land. We can just party it up. Blah, blah, blah. That's the problem. All these other states that are reopening, why are they even reopening water parks? I saw on the news there was, I think, a place in Florida that was overcrowded and they weren't even socially distancing. Do you think I want to go to a water park right now? No. I really do not want to go to a place that encourages large crowds right now. Alright? Because if I get the call to go back to work, I'm going to get screwed. Now we're going to get into crowding in public. And this is where we're going to bring up the MTA and Pat Fraud right now. I don't even need to call him his real name because he's a joke. He's a joke of a chairman. Alright? We're going to get to him right now. So, we're going to talk about Pat Fraud. Now, with Pat Fraud, and his counterparts, he thinks it's a wonderful idea to make a reservation for public transportation. Okay. The only time I expect to be in somewhat crowded conditions when I do leave the house again, it's probably on mass transit. So, you mean to tell me I have to make a reservation to go onto the subway? Do you know how idiotic that sounds? And trust me, I'm lucky enough I even get to talk to Andrew Albert this week. Because, I even told Matt Camper this too. My contingency plan, if the MTA is so serious about the reservation system, I told Matt, look, if they're serious about doing it on the Long Island Railroad, then how about, since you're the regional coordinator for Long Island with Passengers United, why don't we work together and we'll see what happens. And I told Matt that bottom line is we're going to see how it works along the Babylon branch. If there is a reservation system. And I really hope there's no reservation system. Because you mean to tell me if I need to take the E or the F train, I have to go take a reservation? What if I have to transfer to another subway line? Huh, Mr. Foy? What if I have to take the F and then take the Q train over to Carl Schurz Park? Or if I really want to do it, like I did the last time, what if I want to go to 86th Street and 2nd Avenue, go over to 7-Eleven, and then take the M86 over to Central Park? You know? What if I want to do that? Like I did in February. I really hope it doesn't come down to that. But again, if it does come down to that, I hate to say it, I may have to stay in Long Island and then just ride the railroad, which I would much rather deal with commuter rail than the subway. I'm glad the railroad's adding more cars. But trust me, we all know what the Babylon branch is like off-peak on a weekday. I've seen it. Matt Camper has seen it. Pine Power LI has seen it. We've seen from, what time? Right. 10 a.m. to at least 2 p.m. There's an empty seat on the Babylon branch. So, there's no need for me to be in the middle of the island. You know, I'm not going to be able to take a look at the new bridge at New Hyde Park Road on foot for a while. Because I'm going to be doing leisure along the Babylon branch. If there is a reservation, I really hope there's no reservation. So, you know, that's why Pat Fraud has got to go. All right? We all know what he's like. He makes fun of Italians. He degrades union workers. And that's another thing. Tony Utano has been missing since this thing started. I used to have a lot of respect for him. You know who should be the president of TWU Local 100 right now? Jamel Thompson. Because at least Jamel Thompson listens to people. Unlike Tony Utano, who just says, "Oh, I want to talk to Pat Fraud. You need to have a unionized labor." Blah, 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 blah. You know? I will give credit to John Samuelson. He's been vocal. Either him or Jamel should be the real president of TWU. And Itano was actually supposed to retire this month. Yeah. So I bet Tony's going to love his fat pension. You know, it just proves the point that there's a lot of disorganization still in the MTA. And trust me, Jason Anthony, Charlton DeSouza, Matt Camper, Omar Vera, we're going to stop the $3 fare from happening next year. Because after what happened with this pandemic, do you think we need a fare increase next year? No! It should be off the table until 2023. The fare should stay $2.75 till at least 2023. Then we'll talk about it then. So if Bob Moran's going to say, "Oh, to make up revenue loss, we're going to have to raise the fare to $3. The chief financial officer should just keep his mouth shut. Right? No one needs to pay a $3 fare after what we dealt with this global pandemic. Right? So I have to go to a lot of committee meetings and tell Larry Shorts that this is not appropriate. I'm going to do it. We don't need a $3 fare next year. And I certainly do not want to pay $160 next year. Because they're going to raise my disability fare to $160. You think I want to pay that? It's almost $2. And to make things worse, you know what this also means? They're probably going to raise fares on Long Island Railroad and Metro North 2 again. And then what will probably happen is they're probably going to raise the tolls on the bridges again. And another thing, I'll get to Trump. You know, he proves once again he can't handle emergencies. Alright? You know, I'm glad Joe Biden makes good points. That, you know, he says, oh, we're going to say Trump told people on Wall Street, don't worry, it'll go away. We don't need to get involved with China. You know, that's another thing. Alright? I don't know why we have to rely on China for face masks and PPE. Alright? If anything is done in the healthcare field, I'm sorry, it should not come from China anymore. It should be made here in the USA. Or at least Canada. Or Mexico. Because at least with North America, we should be allowed to get our supplies from there. You know? China is the second world. You know? And, you know, it'd be beneficial if the US, Canada, and Mexico traded medical supplies. That'd be a benefit for that. We're in North America. So, Trump says, don't worry about it. Yeah, we saw what happened with the stock market. And look what happened. Once the word bailout was mentioned, we all know what happened. We all know what happened. The stock market went up again. So, how in the world are we in a depression right now, and all of a sudden, the Dow Jones is doing fine? That to me doesn't make any sense. That we're in a global depression right now for the first time in 92 years, and we have this going on. You know, shame on the media for not even calling it a global depression. That's what this is. You know? And then Trump keeps politicizing it. You know, I keep hearing that, you know, he now wants to move the Republican National Convention to, what the hell is it? Right. He wants to move it from North Carolina to another state that's going to allow large crowds. Right? So the man just, he's just an egomaniac. And, you know, I refuse to do the mail phoning. Right? It's going to mess up the Electoral College. Right? So we got to get our act together, folks, because the main thing is, if you abuse the rules that are in place now, we are not going to be able to vote on November 3rd. We won't. Right? I certainly do not want to lose my right to vote. Because I don't want to deal with 4 more years of a president who can't handle emergencies, will probably get impeached again. And do I really want to deal with that for 4 more years? No. No. And my message to Joe Biden's this. Alright, you gotta pick Amy Klobuchar as your running mate. Because Gretchen Meyer, I feel, is just too controversial. Alright, she's done some shady things in Michigan that I disagree with, which we won't even get into right now, but... And another thing, the protesters. You know, they are not even wearing face masks when they protest, so... Shame on them. But we gotta start being responsible, right? And I have a theory that maybe if we take the slow reopening in New York, and if there's a second wave, then maybe we're not going to shut down. And I certainly hope not. And, you know, one last thing I'm going to say is that wet markets around the world, not just China, don't make an assumption that the next time the next pandemic's going to start from China. No. Right? There are wet markets all over this world. Right? And they need to be shut down. Because we saw what this virus did. So, you know, you're around the world, rat someone out. Because you could stop the next global pandemic from happening. Right? And, you know, handshaking is probably going to be a thing of the past. Mention one last thing. Probably have to elbow bump. But I really hope that we'll get back to normal sooner or later. I'll go back to work. And, you know, we'll maybe even get the government back to normal. You know, back to the way it used to be before Trump. Because I'm going to say this right now. You know, if you're in Michigan and you're in Pennsylvania and you're allowed to campaign and you're a Democrat, do what you got to do to prevent Trump from getting reelected. Please. Because Pennsylvania has 20 electoral votes. Michigan has 10. So that's going to matter in November. Trust me. And more importantly, before I wrap this up, if you haven't yet, please fill out the census. Alright? Please do. Because it's going to matter in 2024 what will happen for the next couple of elections. Because they don't tell you this. The census matters for the Electoral College. So make sure you fill it out. Because if you don't, then you might screw up presidential elections the next 2 tries in 24 and 28. So yeah, I'm good here. So thank you for watching. And you know, please be responsible if you are going out. Wear the face mask, practice social distancing, and you know, let's make sure we can get our society back to normal as soon as we can, as responsible as we can.